This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Spellbound from 1945, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Tagline for the film, "The maddest love that ever possessed a woman." And the synopsis for the film, when Dr. Anthony Edwards arrives at a Vermont mental hospital to replace the outgoing hospital director, Dr. Constance Peterson, a psychoanalyst, discovers Edwards is actually an imposter. The man confesses that the real Dr. Edwards is dead and fears he may have killed him, but cannot recall anything. Dr. Peterson, however, is convinced his imposter is innocent of the man's murder and joins him on a quest to unravel his amnesia through psychoanalysis.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. So what do we got here, RJ? We got ourselves an Alfred Hitchcock directed movie. We got Ingrid Bergman, one of his dames that we're going to see next week. We got Greg Peck, Big Greg, not Cary Grant. Yeah, and then we got this movie that when I've been reading about this movie and was watching it, I'm like, Shutter Island.
Okay. So wait, have you never seen Spellbound before?
No, never.
Okay. I'm not even kidding. The first thing I wrote down was Shutter Island, and Andrea and I were talking about that the whole time because I was like, this feels like Shutter Island. And then like half an hour in, she's like, is this like the original Shutter Island? I was like, I don't know. Probably not. But I mean, I bet Dennis Lehane probably had seen Spellbound before he wrote that book. So,
and I'm sure Big Marty's a fan.
Yeah, talking about revolutionary psychotherapies.
Yeah.
Like in the preamble. See, it all comes around.
Yeah, it's kind of like how all those movies ripped off Rebecca last week.
Exactly.
And now we've got this one movie, and all movies that address psychoanalysis ripping off Spellbound.
Maybe.
So what do we have here with Spellbound? We got a movie. It kind of follows the classic Hitchcock trope of the wrong man. But in this case, it's a man who thinks he did it, and he's not convinced he's the wrong man. But we have a female protagonist, who does think he is the wrong man.
The right man, maybe.
And maybe he's the right man as well. Well, I mean, Gregory Peck, he's a dashing, handsome fellow, right?
He's got like a weird structure. So there's a scene when you first get introduced to him, and he's wearing like the hugest fucking coat in the world. Is so. Okay.
In the preamble, RJ was making some comment about like how sometimes he obsesses about these strange details and things that most people would let slide. But here we are. Continue.
Is it not the most hugest fucking coat you have ever seen?
I never thought about it.
I'm gonna get a screen grab right now of this fucking coat, and I'll put it on the Instagram because it is gigantic, man. And it doesn't fit his body at all. It's like he has huge shoulders, and the coat like comes up to his chin, and it goes down to his ankles. Like it's the biggest coat I've ever seen. So, what do you mean I obsessive? You were the one who brought that up earlier. I don't think I obsessed. Well, this movie's got quite a bit, actually. So I'll get there, but keep talking about Gregory Peck and his weird wardrobe and body movements.
So, okay, I'll leave that to you. But you've been really obsessed with people moving through space this week.
It's so fucking weird. People don't know how to like move when there's a camera on them, and I don't get it. It's like just be normal.
It's weird.
Be normal.
It's blocking and stuff. So anyway, this movie. I don't know. I don't know a lot about psychoanalysis. I don't. I've never gone to one. All I know is what I know from like Woody Allen movies and from like thrillers. It seems like they catch serial killers and are called in to catch them, and then they get tied into things. That's the extent of my knowledge. And they help like neurotic Jewish guys. So this movie, though, it didn't seem to. I don't know. It didn't ring much to me as being truthful to what it was. I was also thinking about actually because we also talked about David Cronenberg in the preamble. Was Dangerous Method? Yeah,
the Carl Jung one.
Yeah, which was kind of like more of like a drama between the people involved rather than
sure was
a statement about, well, maybe it was a statement about the weirdness of psychoanalysis and how like even the people who created it were fucked up, and how can people who created like this messed up thing actually create a system to like measure people's messed upness. So this movie,
what was that
messed,
you just
messed upness? That I believe that is the technical term. You can look it up. It's somewhere in that PS45M thing. You know what I'm saying. Anyways,
I don't.
Yep. So this movie has some interesting ideas about psychoanalysis. It seems like a lot of it was like taken out of a textbook of like, this is what it does and this is how we treat things, and it's very like cold and Hollywoodish in its approach to those topics. And then you have the, I guess you'd say, rampant sexism. It's a combination of Hitchcock, the screenplay itself, the actors, the characters. I don't know. You can't just say, well, it's just the characters of the time. It's like, no, it's the movie. Like the movie totally is. Like, there's no getting over that. Whatever. Maybe if the movie was better, maybe these things wouldn't be a problem. Because honestly, RJ, I don't know. I don't really think much of this movie. I kind of went in kind of knowing that I wasn't going to love this movie, because I've always heard people kind of like are pretty indifferent about this one. I've never been in a rush to watch it. Basically, the only thing I knew about this whole thing going in, like I said last week, was the dolly stuff, the dream sequence stuff. Because it's like very different from like the rest of the movie, and it's like pretty different than anything else Hitchcock kind of did for the most part, where it's like, but it's just like full on just surrealist stuff. It's kind of like somebody's idea of what surrealism is, where it's like, hey, there's eyes and they're dripping and someone's running across a flat space and it looks just like the paintings that we all recognize, but it's like one dude's particular paintings, and it's like this really weird stylized way of like people started thinking that dreams were. And my introduction to like surrealism, like that style, was like Looney Tunes cartoons. And that's cool in a cartoon, and then you start doing it in live action, but then you like grow up and you self-reflect and realize, I don't dream like that. This is just like crappy cliche. This is like how, I don't know, to me it's just cliches. It's like when people are like, man, it's just like a dream, and I'm like, I've never had a dream in my entire life like the way people say they have dreams. Like, it's bullshit to me. It's like, I mean,
my dreams are usually, it's like me like not being able to get to a certain kind of food, and I'm just like, and I'm like always trying to get to it. Do you ever have that dream? No. I have that all the time.
My dreams, RJ, are stress related usually. Either they're like it's all stress. It's always about like some sort of thing.
You got to be careful, man.
I have like work dreams. Those things suck.
You're gonna get shingles if you're stressed out about your work too bad. Trust me.
It's about my life. So it's not. I should have shingles constantly if that were going to become a problem.
You might. How often do you assess your own body?
I guess not enough. Maybe.
Okay, get 3 or 4 mirrors and I'll talk you through it, okay? Yeah, he was just stunned by that. He couldn't even talk.
Yeah, I was parched. This is stress. This is stressing me out, all this psychoanalysis.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. This movie's got some like kind of kitschy, campy things that are funny. That ski hill bit is just God. It's such trash. Like, there's like, sometimes people give shit out to movies with like rear projection when they're driving, and it's just like, oh, that's so old and hokey. And I'm like, whatever, guys, it's just the way movies were made. But this downhill skiing scene with these two like skiing side by side in unison is some real ridiculous bullshit. It's like, it's so cornball. It has not aged well at all. And they're communicating and talking at the same time. It's like, no, clearly it's like, not only has no one in this movie ever like really thought about dreaming, but they've also never skied. I mean, obviously Alfred Hitchcock does not look like a man who skied. He does not look like an outdoorsman.
I think he relates most to that picnic scene where they come back covered in like mustard, and they're like, "Ooh, was it hot dogs?" And it's like, "Oh, it was liverwurst." I bet Al wrote that scene, and he's like, I fucking been there, man." Yeah. But yeah, that ski scene, I don't know. There's a lot of like underbite, teeth grinding, like like to show that they're moving, but it's like that's not faces people make. What is this? What are you doing, Gregory Peck?
Yeah.
Get back in the courtroom.
And then you get the big reveal, which like,
oh yeah,
a child being impaled. It's so like, I think it's supposed to be like a big aha moment. It's definitely no Rebecca aha moment, because it's more just like, oh man, where's the gif of that? And you find there it is.
Yeah, I have some opinions on that.
And then you get the big fake hand.
Yeah,
it's this movie. Anyways,
tell me how you really feel.
I don't know. I don't take this movie very seriously. It's like not a terrible movie, but it's not great. It's I think. I don't think it's as good as 39 Steps. So I'd say it's like it's the weakest of the Hitchcock so far in the collection.
I'm inclined to back up what you're spouting.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, this movie's just kind of just disappointment all around. RJ, what did you think of this year's Spellbound?
Well, so you're talking about this psychoanalysis stuff. I don't know if you know this, Jarrett, but I have a couple degrees in psychology and that master's in the neuroscience thing. I spent some time doing some research, so I'm just gonna assume the role of authority on psychology and stuff like that. Okay. And if anyone feels like they can challenge that, you bring it on, big boy. So anyways, I had a problem with this. I had the same problem with this movie that I did with the Samuel Fuller movies, like Shock Corridor. So Shock Corridor people really dig that movie. It's got cool stuff in it. But one of the big problems I had with that was I was like, they don't give people enough credit. And like the human psyche and like all these things, where even when these movies where they're trying to relate to whatever the popular scientific belief at the time is, and it's like that's nice that they're like trying to stay current with like whatever academic research is at. It's like, that's great, that's what you should do. But then when you watch it like 80 years later, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of dated. And it's like you were kind of saying, it's not that it's dated research, because I know a lot about like these old styles and techniques in psychology, and I realize like where it was and then how it's gotten to now, and you can appreciate like where they build off of these things. It's not that it's dated stuff. The problem that I have with it is kind of like what you were saying, where it's a very Hollywood approach to it, where it's very literal, it's cold, and it's like, hey, we just read the definition, let's make a movie on this,
make a picture. And,
we're going to make a picture on this psychoanalysis.
Yeah, Selznick wants this in 5 days. Make it
make it happen. Oh, and they're all slapping their hands with like big. Yeah. Anyways,
it's just like that Hail Caesar.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a movie that neither of us liked for reasons. But that's the problem I have with this. And it's like I say, it's not that it's dated theory. It's that the interpretation of it is so stiff that I don't think that anyone actually thought about this. Because like in Shock Corridor, they don't give people enough credit. Everyone has these like super profound subconscious like psychoses where it's like, oh, it's in like your repressed memories, and it's the locked doors of the mind that you don't have access to. And it's like, all right, okay. It's like there's certain times things like this happen where people, like his whole big thing is like he has amnesia, and he has it for like full just like years of his life. He doesn't remember any of his childhood. He doesn't remember anything from the last like 8 years. And it's like, okay, there's been like real extraneous like cases where like stuff like that has happened. But I feel like this movie like builds it up to a sense where it's like it could happen to you, and that's like what they try to make scary. It's like you might have repressed memories that you don't know about, and you could have killed your brother. And it's just like it's like I was saying, they don't give people enough credit, where it's all about like not believing in like the human psyche, where it's like, no, people are stronger than you think, we're not that fragile. But then the movie also like side skirts it to this like polar opposite end of this spectrum, where it's like they trust people too much, where it's like this lady, it's like why would she trust this guy at all? Like he's clearly like crazy, and she's like, I love you, and he's like, I love you too. And it's like, where does this romance come from? Like these two people who had like one picnic together, which is, that's like a movie thing in general. But
yeah,
I feel like I don't think they contrast really well, where it's like they don't believe in people at all, where it's like this is like how fragile you are. Well, but then at the same time it's like, but we got to trust people because look, he was innocent and no one believed in him. Mm-hmm. And it's like I don't dig on that, man. So Spellbound, that was my rant for you. But I agree. I didn't like Spellbound a whole lot. Andrea didn't either. She when we were about half an hour in, she was like, this isn't as good as Rebecca, hey? Oh. And I was like, no, it's not as good as Rebecca. So she's on board with all these Hitch movies. She's watched a bunch with me before, so she's a good like gauging rod on like general opinion on this stuff. And she was just like, yeah, this movie's not that good. And I was like, no, it's not. But I don't know, like, because this was a first time watch for me too, but I feel like the title has way more weight to it than the movie itself does. Because when I saw it, I was like, Spellbound, I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know what that's about, but sounds like a real ass movie. Yeah. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's nothing. It's about like men are shitty, women are dumb, and everyone has repressed memories. Because I think that was like the other like through lines for this movie. It was like men are really shitty. You see like that borderline rapist guy trying to pick her up at the hotel. You see all the other doctors make fun of her because she's a woman. And then like there's even a line in this where the one guy's like, let me read it. The mind of a woman in love is the lowest level of intellect. And you're just like, whoa! You're like, that's some 1945 dialogue for you.
That's always a thing, though. I don't know how often it's come up in some of these creeps, but it's kind of like these uppity women who have to be brought down low by men. And like sometimes it's like I know where I'm going. It's kind of like that.
Let me put you in place, honey.
Yeah, well, it's like. Or it's like sometimes it's like these women need to be like brought down to earth, or it's like in this it's like, oh, they're just like dudes who are just like being dicks. And yeah,
I know. So like that's the other thing where it's like women are dumb, men are shitty, everyone sucks.
What? Women are emotional, RJ.
They're emotional, yeah. And like, hey, people still say that, right? That's why they didn't vote Hillary in. Because you can't have a woman in the White House. She'll be irrational.
Yeah.
Anyways, so on the whole, I was like, I don't know about this Spellbound. There's parts I like, but I just don't buy into all the like psychoanalysis stuff where it's like I was saying, I kind of know about this stuff a little bit. I got some background into it, but that's not what throws me off. It's just I feel like their interpretation of it is so superficial that it's like I don't buy what you're selling because you didn't take enough time to like really kind of look into it. And then it's kind of like you said, there are certain lines in this movie where they say it's like, oh, guilt complex, this is what it is. And it's just like the definition, and they do that like 8 fucking times in this movie where they're like, oh, it's just guilt complex, clearly you're doing, and then they say the definition out of like the fucking like textbook, and you're like, ugh.
And that's like the worst, because that's always been like with Psycho, for instance. That's kind of like the one thing everyone goes like, why does that last scene in this movie like where they explain everything away? And it's like that was like 1960, so definitely by then it didn't work. But even like, I don't know, considering the stature of Hitchcock in 1945, it seems a little late to like. But it's like whatever. I mean, so it's just such a affectation of this entire era of like movie making that it's like exceptional when movies don't have this clunkiness, and it's just like, hey, let's just tell the story like flat out. I mean, we don't even get to that really probably for another like 20 years, and where it becomes like, oh, we can expect to be treated treated fairly intellectually like like, hey, we'll assume the audience is going to figure this out, and then we've started to turn that back once again.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I have some like just general notes if you want to hear those too.
Absolutely.
Overtures. Ugh.
Yeah, what?
I hate that shit.
This movie's not that long. Why does it have an overture? And
there's a 4-minute overture before the movie, because I put it on and Andy was just like, "What is this?" She's like, "What are we doing here?" She's like, "Are we watching a movie? Like, what the fuck is going on?" And I was like, "I guess there's an overture." So like I skipped ahead a bit, and then you see text on the screen, and you're like, "Oh," I was like, did we miss something?" And you go back, so it's like you have to like bear through it. You're like, "I don't want to miss anything."
I did the same thing.
Overtures fucking suck. This movie is full of sexual deviants and nice guys. So I wrote down a couple quotes. This one, I have a feeling this wasn't a direct quote, but I wrote it down in quotations. "You cold bitch, give me some skin." I don't remember what that's in reference to, but I feel like I think there's a scene at the start where the guy's like, he's like, "Come on, baby." He's like, "Lay it on me." And it's basically like, "You cold bitch, like give it over here."
Yeah.
And everyone's like that to her, which shows like that men are bad. But it's the nice guy thing, right? Where even the guy in the hotel, he's like, "I'm a nice guy." He's like, "I'm from Pittsburgh. Don't you want to go upstairs with me, get a drink?" And she's like, "No, thank you." And he's like, "You bitch." He's like, "You whore." And you're just like, whoa.
Some things never change.
Some things, yeah. You're like, where did this come from?
Yeah, there's the one thing with like the nympho woman, because I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like in Shock Corridor too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there's like all sorts of weird things like this that were of the time, I guess. I have the world's hugest coat. I wrote, "What kind of fence is that?" Apparently in that, like, so when they go to that picture, there's like a livestock fence where it's like a barbed wire on like a post, and routine, you'll do a 3 or 4 wire. Yeah. And it's just 1 wire on the top and 1 wire on the bottom, which is very clearly so they could walk through it. But it was just like, what is the purpose of this fence? What are you doing? Don't even have it there at all.
And then we get that dude's line about, "Oh, it looks like you've gone for a roll in the hay."
Yeah, just to make fun of women being sexual. Good stuff. Yeah. There is Gregory Peck's super smooth line when she is in his room, and he's like, "Oh, there's something about your robe," and it's like giving him like PTSD flashbacks. And I was like, "Oh, that's so smooth." It's like, she's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Your robe," and she's like, "Oh, take it off." He's like, "I'll get rid of it. I'm sorry." Like, throws it away. I was like, fucking smooth, man. Which brings me to another point. This guy is scared of the lamest shit I've ever seen. Like patterned lines, the color white, the color black. Like he's just like scared of all this stuff. He's like, "Oh."
How is this guy able to even get to like the clinic?
The clinic? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, which is like why I was so confused that she would actually like be interested in him at all. I was like,
have you seen Gregory Peck?
Oh fuck yeah, him in that giant coat.
Gregory panty stripper.
Ooh shit. There's the maid at the Freud doctor's house who's just letting people into the house and is like, "I gotta go. You guys hang out. He'll be back sometime." It's like, lady, you can't just let people into this house.
Different time, man.
Different time. I liked the No Face Man and the Dolly dreams.
Yeah, No Face Dude is nice.
Yeah, and then the one thing, the thing that I couldn't believe was when the detectives are looking at the police reports or as like wanted women, and they see the woman that like they saw like not even 8 hours before, and he's like, let me see. And he draws glasses on her picture, and he's like, "Got it." And he's like, "Look familiar?" And he's like, "Oh my God, it's the same woman." And it's like, I didn't recognize her without like ink drawn glasses on her picture. I was like, come on. It's like I was saying earlier, they don't give people enough credit. It's like, don't It's so dumb. So dumb. Drawing on the glasses on it is like, let me see if this is the same lady. I can't tell. Oh. Anyway, so I feel like I maybe dumped on Spellbound a little bit here. I think it's fine. Like, it's a watchable movie, but it's not great.
No, it's nothing special at all. Fun facts. Fun.
Ooh.
You love those, RJ.
I sure do.
So, okay, some production notes here. So it was made as another one of those movies between old Hitchcock and David O. Selznick. Hitchcock's contract with Selznick began in March 1939, but only resulted in 3 films: Spellbound, Rebecca, and The Paradigm Case. Notorious was sold to RKO in mid-production, as we'll find out next week. Selznick wanted Hitchcock to make a movie based upon Selznick's own positive experience with psychoanalysis. Selznick even brought in his therapist, May Rom, MD, who was credited in the film as a technical advisor. Dr. Rom and Hitchcock clashed frequently. Further contention was caused by the hiring of surrealist artist Salvador Dali to conceive certain scenes in the film's key dream sequence. However, the sequence conceived and designed by Dali and Hitchcock, once translated to film, proved to be too lengthy and complicated for Selznick, so the vast majority of what had been filmed ultimately was edited out. 2 minutes of the dream sequence appear in the final film, but according to Ingrid Bergman, the original had been 20 minutes long.
Ooh.
The cut footage apparently no longer exists, although some production stills have survived in the Selznick archives. Eventually, Selznick hired William Cameron Menzies, who had worked on Gone with the Wind and RJ, Invaders from Mars.
Which one? The Tobe Hooper one?
The other one.
Okay.
Yeah. And to oversee the set designs and direct the sequence. Hitchcock himself had very little to do with its actual filming.
So wait. Was this a con job? Is this like every Spielberg movie? Like Tobe Hooper's Poltergeist? That was really directed by Spielberg? Yeah, I'm shitting on Tobe Hooper today. Fuck that guy. He sucks.
He made that one movie really well.
The one movie. That's it. Anyways.
Spellbound was shot in black and white, except for 2 frames of bright red at the conclusion. Did you catch that, RJ?
No.
When Dr. Murchison's gun is fired into the camera with the big fake hand. There's a flash of red because you're dead.
Yeah, I saw.
Was it subliminal enough for you?
I saw that moment in time.
Yeah. This detail was deleted in most 16mm and video formats, but was restored for the film's DVD release and airings on Turner Classic Movies. And there you go. And hey, did you know Bergman and Peck were actually banging during the production of this film?
I did know because Andrea looked it up, and we both went, "Ooh, shit. They had a real-life affair. That's pretty dope."
Ooh la la.
Ooh, baby. But I think it broke up one of their marriages, didn't it?
Or something. Who cares? They're all dead.
I care. Wait a minute. They're all dead?
Yeah.
All of them? But Kirk Douglas is still alive?
He's a cockroach man.
I don't fucking buy this at all.
I know. It's gonna be huge when he dies. So yeah, man.
What do you mean when?
So, hey, RJ, who hates Spellbound?
I bet some people who don't get it.
Let's see what the folks here at Letterboxd have to say about this movie. Sebastian Butt.
Whoa, wait a minute.
1 star.
We have heard from Sebastian Butt before.
I believe we have. For someone who I know to be a master of suspense.
Nice.
Hitchcock made maybe the most boring movie about psychoanalysis ever. He's much more fun when the psychoanalysis is buried within some bigger scheme. Watching people sit around and spout psychobabble and be terrified of lines is unendingly dull. At the very least, Hitchcock's visual sense shines through at times and keeps things watchable. This film is also deeply misogynistic. There's a lot of talk about female tendencies and whatnot. The unveiling of John Ballantyne's mental block is unintentionally hilarious. That it is. Got any words here about Sebastian Butt?
So Sebastian Butt has definitely been on the podcast before because I thought the name was hilarious. Their bio says, "My greatest strength is my meticulously curated narcissism." I feel like we would be friends with Sebastian Butt. They gave Shape of Water a half star. Favorite films include Martin the Blood Lover, Unforgiven, Bad News, Last Jedi, Andrei Rublev, Showgirls, How to Get Ahead in Advertising. Commando. That's a good show.
No, it's not really.
What do you mean?
It's not.
Get out of here. Commando rules. Anyways, they like a lot of horror and Criterions. I think Sebastian Butt is an okay guy.
Okay. Lucas Marmol, 1.5 star.
Marmol.
Confusing, overlong, and stupid. Peck is horrible, and Bergman thinks she's in a 2 decades older film. Plus, zero chemistry between leads. Hitchcock, worst well-regarded movie.
Is that true?
No.
Is this? I was gonna say Hitchcock has like 1,000 movies.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, there's some. I think the worst one of his I've seen myself is probably Marnie.
Okay.
I think that's like. But I think there could be a bottom to his movies. Some of his stuff's going to be just boring too. But yeah.
So Lucas Marmol from Brazil.
Yep.
Favorite movies are things I have never heard about, like God's Own Country, Columbus, 1 Week a Day. But they do have some good taste in that they have a PTA ranked list. There Will Be Blood is number 1. Mm-hmm. Punch Drunk Love is number 3. I would flip those, but the important thing is that Inherent Vice is last. And they have a Spielborgo ranked list with War of the Worlds as second. Whoa. I think that's a pretty hot take.
What's number 1?
Schindler's List, which is boring. But Munich is number 4. Catch Me If You Can is number 8.
Where's Jaws?
5. Minority Report is 13, which I'm going to lay it out there with you. I think Minority Report is like 2 or 3 for Spielberg.
No, not that high, but it's good.
It's good. Yeah. Let's say 5.
Okay.
5.
Sure. Well, we got to remember, there's some Indiana Jones in there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, he made some movies, eh?
He's made a couple flicks. Brian Strang, 1.5 star. Gregory Peck goes for the fainting record, and everyone is so creepy towards Ingrid Bergman.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know a guy named Brian Strang. I know a guy named Daniel Stang. Do you think they're related?
Could be one and the same.
He's got a bunch of pretentious shit in his favorite movies, but also Last of the Mohicans.
Okay.
So I mean, Spielberg, Lost World. What the fuck? 12 Angry Men, Lawrence of Arabia, X-Men: Days of Future Past, Princess Bride. Oh my God!
Sergio Gomez, 2 stars. A spectacular dream sequence and sporadic Hitchcock flourishes can save this from outdated psychological theories of forced romance and casual misogyny. So, kind of an echo chamber here of people who are not on board with Spellbound.
That's true. Sergio likes a really good movie called The Apartment, but they also like these Infinity Wars, these Guardians of the Galaxies, this Baby Driver.
Oh.
Oof. Well, actually, I don't know if they like Baby Driver. They like a lot of Edgar Wright stuff. Let me see what. 5 stars, Baby Driver. Woof. Woof.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. To quote Macaulay Culkin in
Shalit here.
Woof.
Yeah.
Gene Shalit? Yeah. Is that what I'm emulizing here?
Yeah, Rex Reed, Gene Shalit here.
Woof.
Anyways, yeah, this movie was not there, but I think it'll get better. It'll get better, RJ.
It fucking better, man. If this next movie isn't good, I'm coming after you, pal.
Okay. After the break, I'm gonna go sliding down a rail and hit RJ in the back, and he's going to go flying into the air and get impaled onto a fence post and die. But I will then be haunted psychologically by this, and it'll be like, it wasn't even my fault. It was an accident. It's like, well, he's still dead.
I forgot to mention, he totally killed his brother. They're like, oh, it wasn't your fault. It was an accident. It was like, no, you killed that guy for sure.
You definitely did. And then
100%.
This guy, he was like out in the mountains and he got shot, but it wasn't. I didn't actually do it. It's this other dude.
He killed his brother 100%. Like I don't.
Blood on his hands.
The blood on his hands.
Yeah. And my hands.
What did you do?
That'd be telling.